Actually, really a question that we have. What is the role of this little region that we call Southeast Vermont, Windham County and a few little communities around it, in the context of the bigger region? You can see the travel times to different areas around the region. But what is the context? What is your connections? I want to look at that just a little bit. Okay, where does money come from and flow to? People that have a job may live in the county or they may not. How does that money flow? Well, it turns out that the money flows out of the county. About 5% of all income earned in Windham County flows out of the county because there's people that live outside the county who come work here. So we're a net importer of labor. About 5% of that dollar flows out. It's actually about 9%, almost 10% of the workforce comes from outside the county. So we're a net importer of labor. Where do people work? Susan, where'd she disappear? Susan, this comes from Windham Regional Commission. They developed this little slide. It shows the major work centers. We have Keene over on the east, Brattleboro, okay, down to Greenfield, over to Bennington. Not very many people cross that mountain, it turns out. Okay? Then up to Smithfield, up toward Wright River. It turns out there's a lot of people from Smithfield area that go up to White River Junction. But Springfield. I'm sorry, from Springfield. Up to White River Junction. But there's not a lot of people that go from Brattleboro up to White River Junction or vice versa for daily commutes. So this kind of shows you we actually have somewhat of a very linear connection up and down the interstate with that, then the connection over to Keene. It actually extends farther than this. This is what we would call a labor shed look. Looking at the region sitting in the larger labor shed. Somebody asked the question earlier about higher education and people with degrees. Dora, you asked the question, how many people have a higher degree here? It's pretty extensive in the region. Look at these numbers. When at the lower skill, if we're okay making the equation between education and skilled labor jobs, people at the high school and less than high school education level make pretty much on par with the surrounding labor shed. But once you get beyond high school into having some college or an associate's degree or a graduate degree, bachelor's degree, we trail the surrounding labor shed pretty significantly. That means it's hard to attract somebody to a job here in Windham County from Keene or from New Hampshire or from Massachusetts. Okay? You said earlier that you're paying a premium to take a job here or to attract somebody to take a job here. So there is an impact on the region by our proximity to the communities around us and the difference in wages, the wage parity or the lack of wage parity to our surrounding region. Again, different look at this. This is very recent data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, quarterly census of employment and wages. Again, we track behind the surrounding area. What does all this mean? I don't know. That's the question we're asking. What is the context? And we want you to be thinking about this as we move forward. What is the role of this region? And have we really properly defined the region we're talking about and looking at assets? Because what the data shows us is that you can't think of yourself as an island. I can tell you this, Aroostook County, Washington, they're almost an island. They're not surrounded by water at all, but they're an island up in the northeast corner of the United States, the far northeast corner of Maine, up against the Canadian border. And they're almost an island economy. This is not an island economy. You draw on resources from the surrounding region, and you provide assets and resources and tourism and second homes to the broader region. You have within the state a certain portfolio of industry clusters, and some of those are strongly represented in this region. Those industry clusters, those employers help with all of you to inform the balanced approach that we have through the SEVIDS process to help set goals. Those goals then we turn into this thing we call the SEDS, the community or the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy for the community, for the region. That strategy then gets implemented. Jeff's not going to implement that strategy. It's going to be you and the community, whether you're an employer, a nonprofit, an interest group, whether it's the arts, agriculture, or pure business, industry. You're the ones that implement it. You also influence it by the policies that you drive your community leaders to make. But it has to be in the context of what is the region that we're part of. And that region is not just Brattleboro, it's not just Bellows Falls or Rockingham or the mountain or the valley. It's the broader region, which extends beyond the boundaries. These man-made boundaries don't make a whole lot of sense in this context. This brings us back to the objectives. Everything we're doing today drives us to setting goals that we want to achieve. And the process that we're going through here will help us get there. And I want to turn it over to Frank now to talk about what are the things that we're going to do to reach out to people beyond the 60 of us who gathered in the room today so that we can hear all kinds of voices, get all kinds of input, that we make sure that our process is to empower each individual in the community to say, you know, I am a steward of my economy. And I have a voice in it, and I should, make sure my voice is heard, and I should be involved in making sure that those plans are developed and implemented.